Hello and welcome to the Lenovo Popup podcast booth that we have today. We are talking about all the ways we are bringing new life to the modern workplace. And I have a very special guest with me here today to talk about our recent report, the Lenovo Work Reborn Research Report, where we interviewed over 600 senior IT leaders about AI, workplace transformation, employee experience, and more. So hello to our guest. Would you like to introduce yourself, your name, and your company?
Sure. My name is Mike Schumann. I am working for Boehringer Ingelheim. We are located in Germany with affiliates globally. So we have about 55,000 employees worldwide and therefore more or less underway in the pharma industry. So that's basically...
Fantastic. So the vertical is within the pharma industry
Yes,
then. Fantastic.
exactly. Yep.
So I'm sure we'll talk about it, but security and compliance is a huge topic as well when it comes to AI. And I bet that conversation comes up a lot in the pharma vertical
It does.
well.
It does.
So let's see if we can pull a question from the deck. Maybe we'll get something around that, maybe not. So I'll have you take a pick.
Okay.
You can give me a choice. And then you can hand it over to me and I'll see what our topic is. I'll read it to us. So...
Okay.
The topic is, well, it's like Jeopardy, right? So it's like category is big picture and vision, okay? So the Lenovo Work Reborn Research Report mentions digital workplace transformation needs more than a technology roadmap. It requires unique strategic goals. So how important is it for companies to connect their transformation efforts to their unique distinct business identity? So essentially, how important is it to make the strategy for, workplace transformation a specific one to the business rather than just copying what somebody else is doing? Maybe for an example, like how pharma is a different vertical than another one. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it is super important because I remember in the past, this classical, so-called commodity services, like the PC and the office products were considered not too important, at least not in scope, because it doesn't seem to be something which is really making a difference to the business. But now, over the past few years, we realized that we see technologies will be connected much tighter together. We see this with this approaches like API first. We see much more integrations specifically into the office world. And as also infrastructure has now more or less devices and software on everyone's table, it makes a real difference. And now I think also products like Microsoft Copilot will make a big difference when it comes to AI. All the collaboration data is in those SaaS platforms, and a lot of the knowledge of a company is sitting in those platforms. So as in the day-to-day business, people are collaborating and sharing their experiences and skills. And I think that makes a big difference in the future to also not just look into the specific technology, but connecting all those technologies together, whether this is looking into SAP or into CRM tools, to really bring the value out of those tools and not just focus on the specific digital workplace area and looking for more the classical office applications.
Right. I think you brought up a good point about how the connection part is key. I think a lot of leaders will focus maybe on one area for a while and maybe another, but not really working together on how they work as a collective, right?
Yeah.
So that's, would you say that's a key component to consider in the roadmap of how they all work together as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think most of the synergies we will see in the future will be based on how quickly can I get access to my business relevant data, how to bring this into, for instance, a PowerPoint, how to come to this point that I have quicker decision making so that I don't depend on just doing an export from one tool A and import it into tool B to make it nice and shiny, but to have it at your fingertips. And I think that's one of the main differentiators in the future, because at the end, success means also speed. And the quicker I have access to the relevant data for decision making, the higher is the likelihood that the company will be successfully.
How fast do you feel that we are working in business now compared to even 5 years ago? You mentioned speed. I feel like we're at a point where it's in 1 second or 2 seconds, one decision can make or break a business's next outcome or whatever.
Yeah. I think it is super quickly, and sometimes it's also overwhelming for people, because I think at the end of the day, the overall success of the company just works if you have the focus on all generations, because not you don't have just the younger people in the company, but also like the baby boomers who are like coming to the end of their career.
Yes.
They must be able to catch up with what is going to happen. Yeah, and that's sometimes a challenging topic. We see this in all these evergreen updates where like every month you get a bunch of new updates. The way how we try to tackle this is, since years we introduced an internal brand called Digital Workplace, where we said we have trainings for the most relevant applications, if you will. Sometimes we also do boot camps. That was used to be the one in the past, where we said one day every 30 minutes you get a new topic. You can basically opt in if you want, and you can get a step back if that topic is not so relevant for you, but you have it available when you need it. We do a lot of online trainings, but what is also in my mind, sometimes it's important that you combine always the training with something what is practical, because otherwise people are not able to reproduce what they learned. And that goes rather good. Yeah. Also, when I look now to Copilot, I heard today in one of the sessions that people start exploring Copilot, but the adoption rate doesn't seem too high.
Yes.
I cannot speak for us in the same manner. So we had an adoption rate of our test group. We had 300 users and we had 95% adoption rate. So people were really actively using the tools in the day-to-day business and benefiting from the tool really significantly. So up to 30 minutes a day. Yeah.
Well, I think we should pull one last question. What about you? Sounds great. I love this conversation that we're having so far.
Sure.
Okay, let's see the topic that we have. So, this actually ties in really well to what you were talking about, which is the buy-in for the adoption and all of that, right? But let's read the fun fact from the report first. So the Lenovo Work Reborn report points out that other IT objectives like security and Gen AI often take precedence over workplace transformation. So as you know, these objectives are just really important and they need to be linked to the overall strategy as a whole. That being said, how can leaders reposition digital workplace transformation as an enabler rather than a competing priority for the other parts of the business? It seems like you guys had a high adoption rate, so maybe you kind of know how to navigate something like that.
So when I think about this topic around security and compliance tools, I think this all needs to go hand in hand with the transformation we are trying to achieve for the digital workplace. So for us, I can speak for us, we did a pretty big invest in the last years into a program which is called Cybersecurity Framework. And this cybersecurity framework, we are basically closing gaps as we go, like focusing on the CIS framework more or less technologically. And we are all, like the security colleagues, the compliance colleagues, the business functions such as legal, and we are in close relationship to see, on the one hand, that we have an eye on security, on the other hand, that we bring the business forward by applying faster, innovative technologies. And I think this only goes if this is not a competition, that this is basically a journey we take together, saying, okay, what are the real critical things we need to look into? And a lot also is awareness. You can do a lot with technical measures, what we do. So whatever is technically possible, we do that, but without disturbing people too much from work, because at the end of the day, it's nice to have compliance, but for success, it's all about outcomes and output.
Right. It's nice to have those protocols, but if we're not doing anything about it and innovating or making progress, then what are we really doing, right?
Exactly.
Well, it's been a fantastic time chatting with you today. Thank you so much for coming by our Lenovo Popup booth. If you are interested in this conversation or others and you'd like to learn more about the Lenovo Work Reborn Research Report, make sure you check it out in our description below. Make sure to subscribe for other informative and educational episodes on this topic from our report as well. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.